I'm going to begin with the reading of the beginning of chapter 2. And for those of you who don't know, Without Sin begins each chapter with a journal entry from Garrett Harrison. Now, Garrett's the Border Patrol agent who falls in love with and attempts to rescue Angelina Marguerite, the young woman forced into prostitution. And Garrett writes in a journal to kind of deal with a lot of things he's going through. Garrett carries a lot of guilt because his father passed away before the two of them could reconcile a troubled relationship they had. And he also is dealing with a bit of post-traumatic stress from a lot of the things he saw while he was a Navy SEALs officer over in Iraq. So rather than turn to antidepressants and alcohol, he writes. So here's how it begins. It's tough to actually peg the number of illegal immigrants now living here in the United States. Estimates by the Census Bureau, the Pew Hispanic Center, and others who try to account for such things put the number somewhere between 11 and 12 million. These folks also figure that the U.S. Border Patrol apprehends only about 10 to 30% of illegal border crossers, meaning that a whole lot more of them manage to get through than what gets sent back. Smuggling people across the border has turned out to be big business. There are coyotes and guides that are paid good money to move people to the north. But there are some of those wanting to cross that don't hire help, and they just go it alone, by the hundreds. A couple of months back, I was patrolling a stretch of border along the Badlands. The night was pitch black and graveyard quiet, when all of a sudden, as if on cue, 100 or 150 men and women just charged out of the darkness and hit the wall. It was just me and Brophy and 7 miles of fence that night. I hit the lights and Brophy called it in, and we set to chasing them down, Brophy yelling, "Alto, alto, goddammit!" But not one of them stopped. They just scattered like jackrabbits and disappeared like ghosts into the inky blackness. Between the two of us, we caught 4 before the Ghetto Hawk flew in with the spotlight. Even with their support, we didn't catch any more of them. They blitzed us, and as far as we could tell, nearly all of them got through. I've been with the patrol for nearly 6 months, and I've seen people do some desperate things out here. But the thing that troubled me the most, and I mean the type of troubling that makes it hard to close your eyes and sleep at night, was what we came across about 4 months ago. By now, most folks have either read about it in the papers or saw it on television, but that just ain't no substitute for witnessing the real thing. We were patrolling a section of the canyon off of Highway 94 when we came across a semi-truck hauling a refrigerated trailer parked off to the side of the road. Weren't nobody there, and there wasn't anything around for miles. Not a gas station, a house, nothing. So Brophy and I went to check it out. It was an independent rig, one of them owner-operator outfits that seem to be increasingly rare in these days of $3 diesel. The rig was a cobalt blue Peterbilt, with the sticker placed on both the driver and passenger side windows that read in bold block letters, "No passengers." We found that the door was unlocked, so we climbed into the cab. The passenger seat had been removed in the event that the driver should ever contemplate violating the edict of the window stickers. Brophy found the registration and the logbook in the glove compartment, but there weren't no sign of the driver. It was a scorcher that day, too. Must have been 110 degrees in the shade, if there were any shade. So we were a little concerned about what happened to whoever was driving the rig. We was just getting ready to radio it in and give it over to the highway patrol when I heard something that sounded like crying coming from inside the trailer. I took my flashlight and tapped on the door, and then the crying got louder, and other voices joined in, filling the air with the unmistakable moans of people in misery. The door on the trailer was secured with a large brass padlock, so I took out a pair of bolt cutters from a toolbox we found inside the cab and cut the lock off. Brophy helped me pull open the doors, and a wall of heat and human stench belched out of that trailer that nearly dropped us both to our knees. Inside we found 70 immigrants packed in like cargo. None of them had any water or food. They was just sitting inside that trailer, parked off the roadside out in the middle of the desert. When we got inside, we saw that the insulation had been pulled off the walls and scattered all around, and you could see scratch marks on the walls and the doors where several of them had attempted to literally claw their way through the trailer. You knew which ones had tried, because their fingertips were all raw and bloody. Many of them had passed out from heat exhaustion and weren't responsive. 4 had enough fight left in them to help me and Brophy move the rest into fresh air. 19 gave in to dehydration and the suffocating heat, and there wasn't a thing we could do for them. 3 of the dead were children. The youngest was only 5 years old. It turned out that the driver of the cab was offered a lump sum payment of $3,000 if he would pick up a group of migrants outside of Tecate and drive them to some undisclosed location near San Diego. The driver got nervous on account of some heavy police activity that was taking place in the area at the time. This bastard already had 2 strikes on his record, and he didn't want to risk a third, so he abandoned his truck, along with everybody inside. Didn't let them out, didn't even bother to turn on the refrigeration unit. He just left them inside for God, fate, or luck to sort out. The law eventually caught up with him and filed 19 counts of first-degree murder charges against him, along with false imprisonment and 70 counts of conspiracy in harboring and transporting immigrants. His trial is coming up soon. I've only been wearing this uniform for 6 months, so I guess I don't know anything different than what I've seen. But I listen to some of the old-timers when they get to talking about how it used to be and how it is now. They say that the situation along the border is only getting worse. When some of the younger officers hear them go on like this, they tell them that they're full of shit, and the fact that they think things are getting worse is proof that they're just getting old. I wasn't sure what to believe when I first signed on, but I do know that the desert can be a cruel place. I bore witness to that fact on more than one occasion and in more than one desert. Now all I can say is that the longer I wear this badge, the more certain I am that those old-timers got it right. Friday, December 19th, 2008. Garrett Harrison.